if you're like me and you like to make music, then I like to do the whole process. That means the initial recording, mixing, mastering, and I've always made my own cassette and CD covers. I'd like to show what I've done over the decades since like early 1980s, and what I have is, this is the first one that I made. Must have been about 1987. I was doing a concert with the Northumbrian Small Pipes, and somebody took the photographs, presented me with the photograph, and I made it for a cassette, which I used to sell when I was busking. I used to sell these cassettes for quite a few years. It's very simple, just A4 stuck together. The photocopy was done in the library, and yeah, very simple. At the end, like say, like 1990, at college, the performing arts course I was on, they produced a cassette, Mary Morgan. I wrote some of the music that we performed. I did mainly electronic music, some others did acoustic, sang, but again, quite simple. But it was the joy of making it, really. After that, I started to do CDs because cassettes were going out of fashion, and eventually stopped. So I never had a print. Well, I did have a printer, but then the ink dried up, and so in the end I started to look for different ways of designing the CD cover, the CD itself. This is just paint. Just with the fingertip I made designs on it. So these were just the cassettes being put onto CD, and again I sold them busking. This same thing, get it off. Again, just paint. I decided to put some text on it. This is like text about the pipes in Northumbria. So I kind of smeared the edges around just to make it a bit more interesting. Same with this, text as well as paint. Yeah, just basic. The covers I used to make again in the library, just cut them up, print them off. This was an early version in black and white. Yeah, just a bit of text inside, stuck together. But you know, it was enough at the time. This would be early 90s. Then this was done for a concert in Spain. In Catalonia, I think it was. So again, it was a combination of Northumbrian pipes and border pipes. Played live and just recorded, and then again I did the cover. Printed it off in a print shop in Spain. Next one also was done in a print shop in Spain, same thing. This when we had a printer, a computer that came with, I think it was called LightScribe, and it etched, I don't know if you can see that, but it etched a design onto the CD itself, which was really nice. It was a nice way of but they stopped the program. They don't use it anymore, but it was a very, very nice way of printing on the CD. In my opinion, much better than the labels. This was a border pipes. This is the label. Again with text on, but because it's black and white, it comes out in a different texture than the colour. You know. These were all traditional melodies that I used to play. This one's an early version, again Northumbrian small pipes. This was a simple sticker on the CD. And again with LightScribe, and I used to put a little information, contact information, but I really liked the texture of the LightScribe. Then I stopped for a while, and in the late 90s or early 2000s I started again. This one is a folk CD I did, but it was multi-tracked. It wasn't just solo, and it had a lot of instruments, virtual and acoustic, but with concertina started off, and then mandolin, and then it just built from there to include all sorts of like things, bagpipes and drums. And I did that one in conjunction with this one, which I don't have a CD for, but this was done on Word and just printed off at the local printer. And then quite recently I started doing more complex covers. These covers, I got the design from the internet, where it gives you the dimensions of how to bend, fold and cut the CD, but the designs I did myself on the computer using Photoshop, and then with that design I could send it away to a firm in London where they printed it up in colour. I was really happy with the results, because you know, you could the detail was amazing really, and I started to do the covers in a brown label sort of sticky. I cut these myself. This was just a practice run really, because it's all over the place, but I got it's like a razor that you and you cut round. Basically you DIY, you do it yourself. You know, they weren't cut before. This is the last one in this format I did. It was a electronic CD done with synthesizers and virtual instruments, adopting AI, and there was a lot of research done with the composition. Anyways, a lot of research about AI, and a lot of ideas put into the lyrics, and I wanted it to be a sort of a 70s, 80s feel, but you know, obviously changing the format a bit. And I started to look at CDs in a different way, and the covers, and I started doing cassettes as well again. And this was the CD version, this is the cassette version, and this was the first one I did. got the text, some text there, nothing on the back. This was part of, from that firm in London again. I got like A4 sheets, thin card, and I just did my own design. But I like the idea of doing cassettes, even though they're not popular, died out, but there is a community that still deals with cassettes. Same with this one, the Strangled Growth one. I did the CD. This one. The cassette is same, blank one side but information the other. Quite simple. I also did a different type, but with a pull out. Yeah, so you got more sides, more text, more information. And then I found a design called the Maltese Cross, which I never knew about in the 80s when it was there. But this is, again, it's a Strangled Growth. Business Control is my sort of pseudonym for electronic singer-songwriter sort of thing, which I started in the 80s, and it's been going in one form or another over the decades. Business Controlled, and this was using a hardware synth called the Axolotti Core, which looks like a piece of circuit board, really, just like a lot of components, but you can plug various leads in, and you program it. You program the sounds on the computer, then you transfer the sound source onto the hardware. And so I did that, and I produced the CD and the cassette. So this was it's called it's kind of self-enclosing. You don't need any glue or anything. You just open it up. And that's the idea of the cross. Yeah, and then I cut out the stickers myself with the same idea of using like a protractor, it's sort of a protractor with a knife on the end, and you cut out the form yourself on sticky paper. It kind of all folds back together. So that was Strangled Growth. And finally, my recent ones, I took the cassette idea and I, again, no glue or anything, you just unpack it. This one is a double CD. So it unpacks like that. It's again, but this was my design because I couldn't find a template. So I just made it myself, and then I quite like the contrast of colour and black and white. So you've got the two CDs there. And these are all self-penned. These are electronic music, done virtually all with hardware, synthesizers. There's no, I don't think there's any virtual instruments on it. Yeah, there could be some, obviously. It's self-mastered, self-produced, except for the printing, which I still think is worth sending away for. I don't have to get a lot done, and that keeps the cost down. And this was a traditional manuscript from the 1733 Northumbrian a book that was found, and I decided to play the notation. It has lots of variations, so I played it on using MIDI and virtual instruments, and I selected the tunes that I wanted to do, and I put them on there. So again, it's a nice, it's a representation of the book. You can get an idea of what it sounds like. So this is I'm working on 3 more at the moment in the same style. One is a Swedish bagpipe melodies, and another electronic piece. And I've done another version of the manuscript. It's called the William Dixon manuscript, and but I'm using only synthesizers, no virtual instruments. So I'm playing melodies from 1733 on synthesizers, and it's homage, if you like, to the Wendy Carlos switched on Bach from I think it's 1968. So it's the same idea as that, but I'm using a Northumbrian compiler from 1733 to 2022. That's when I recorded it. Just to show you that cassettes and CDs didn't go away and are not going away, and I encourage you to make your own and to get into the music process more deeply.